Thanks everybody for joining us. If you want to go to the bottom of your screen, and please make sure that you select the globe that says interpretation, select English. Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí con nosotros esta noche. Si usted le gustaría recibir nuestro mensaje hoy en español, les pedimos si por favor pueden expandir su pantalla y ir a la porción de abajo donde ven un mapa mundo, seleccionar el mapa mundo y la opción que dice Spanish o español. Muchas gracias. And we're just going to give folks a few more minutes to join us. But in the meantime, if you could introduce yourself by writing your name in the chat and also what school you represent, or if you're an elected official, what is your role? What is your position? That would be greatly appreciated so we can get to know who's in the room with us tonight. Para todos que están aquí con nosotros, por favor, si ustedes hablan español, les pedimos que vayan a la porción de abajo de su pantalla, donde pueden ver un mapa mundo, seleccionar ese mapa mundo y seleccionar la opción para recibir el mensaje en español. Y vamos a comenzar con presentaciones. Si ustedes pueden escribir su nombre en el chat y también cuál es la escuela que usted representa o tal vez que sus hijos asisten. Y también para los funcionarios que están con nosotros esta noche, si pueden escribir cuál es el rol que ellos tienen en la comunidad. Muchísimas gracias. For folks who are just joining us right now, please make sure that you expand your screen and go to the bottom portion of your screen where you can see a globe. If you can select on the globe and select Spanish or English, whatever language you would like to receive tonight's message in. Para los que se están juntando a nosotros esta noche, si por favor pueden expandir su pantalla de Zoom y pueden ir a la porción de abajo donde pueden ver un mapa mundo. Les pedimos que si ustedes pueden seleccionar el mapa mundo y seleccionar el idioma en el cual quieren recibir el mensaje de esta noche, tenemos dos opciones, inglés o español. Muchísimas gracias. And also for everybody who's just joining us, we are introducing ourselves. So if you would like to put your name, if you're a parent, what school your kids attend, if you're an elected official, if you could write down the role that you represent. También estamos haciendo presentaciones, así que para todos les pedimos si pueden escribir sus nombres y cuál es la escuela que ustedes representan, y también si usted es un funcionario electo, cuál es el rol que usted tiene en la comunidad. Muchas gracias. Thanks everybody for joining us. Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí con nosotros esta noche. Les estamos pidiendo a todos, por favor, si pueden expandir su pantalla de Zoom y seleccionar el mapa mundo que ven en la porción de abajo. Esta noche tenemos una interpretadora con nosotros, así que si ustedes prefieren recibir el mensaje de esta noche en español, si por favor pueden hacer clic donde dice Spanish. Thanks everybody for joining us. We have interpretive services with us tonight. So if you would like to receive the message tonight in English, please expand your screen and make sure that you see a map, a globe at the bottom of your screen. If you select the globe, you can select English. Thank you. And we're also presenting ourselves. So if you would like to write in the chat your name, what school you represent, if you're a teacher, or if you're a parent, what school your children attend, if you're an elected official, what is your role. También nos estamos presentando, así que si ustedes pueden escribir su nombre en el chat y también pueden escribir cuál es el nombre de la escuela que sus hijos asisten. Y también si son funcionarios electos, cuál es el rol que ustedes tienen en la comunidad. Yes, Hilda, can we test the Spanish? Thank you so much.
¿Pueden escucharme entonces? ¿Persona en el canal español podría responderme para saber si me pueden escuchar correctamente?
Sí, se escucha.
Perfecto, muchas gracias.
Wonderful, thank you so much. For everybody just joining us, just a quick reminder, we are having interpretive services with us tonight. So if you would like to receive the message in English, make sure that you go to the bottom of your screen, select the globe, select English. A los padres que están con nosotros esta noche, les pedimos si por favor quieren recibir el mensaje en español, si pueden ir a la porción de abajo de su pantalla, donde ven un mapa mundo, y si por favor pueden seleccionar el mapa mundo para decir inglés. Oh, disculpa, español. Y así pueden escuchar a nuestra interpretadora Hilda. Muchas gracias. Okay, awesome. So we're going to start tonight. And I want to thank you all for being a part of this, this day, for being with us. And we're so excited to be with so many people, parents, teachers, elected officials, who are committed to listening to the voices of our community and who want to know what, our parents are thinking about distance learning. We know that so much is going on right now in our county, in the world. And as folks are making decisions on distance learning, on going back to school, on what all of that would look like, this conversation and tonight's town hall is so important in framing all of those perspectives. So thank you once again. I would like to give an opportunity for my colleague, Evie Frankel, to introduce herself and talk a little bit more about AROS, and then I'll talk a little bit more about our town hall and also introduce myself at that point. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen, and welcome to everybody. This is such an amazing looking crowd we've got tonight. My name is Evie Frankel, and I am the coordinator of the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools Prince George's Coalition here in Prince George's County, also known as AROS PG. Many of the parents here tonight are members of our coalition. I wanted to talk a little bit about what AROS is. AROS was formed at the national level in 2012, and it started with the two national teachers unions, NEA and AFT, in conjunction with the Service Employees International Union, and they brought together 4 parent and groups at the national level as well. And those groups started organizing together on the assumption that the groups who were in these organizations, parents, students, and teachers, have way more in common in terms of their needs and their aspirations than they have differences. And by joining forces, they can be much more effective in making sure that young people have the educational experiences that they deserve, the big nod to equity and racial and social justice. Chapters got formed in many cities and states around the country, in LA, in Oakland. There's a statewide one in Tennessee, Chicago, New Orleans, Boston, just to name a few. and one here in Prince George's County, Maryland. There's also one now in Baltimore. Here in Prince George's, CASA, we have a representative, Maritza Solano here from CASA, Progressive Maryland, the NAACP, PG Cabs, and PGCEA make up the AROS coalition here in Prince George's, with many more organizations joining all the time. Community schools are one of the strategies for equity that the National Alliance fought for at the local levels and also at the national level. And so now we're seeing with the Biden administration coming on that there's actually attention being paid to community schools. And here in Maryland, we were able to win community schools in a bigger way than in any other state in the country, with every school that, based on the Kerwin bill, that just, I think, the veto was just overridden for the funding by Josh can fill this in, by either the state House or Senate, and so we have every school in Maryland that has 80% or more poverty is a community school, and thereby giving us 65 community schools in Prince George's County at this point. The parents here tonight, represented here tonight, are part of that movement. They work in unity with the teachers and other school professionals at their schools as equals, with a unique role to play. They are their teachers, their children's first teachers. They want the schools their children deserve, as do we all. And I'm going to hand it back over to Karen. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much, Evie. And I see that we also have a few more folks joining us. So I just want to make a quick announcement again on interpretation. For folks who are just joining us, please make sure that you maximize your screen a little bit more. You'll be able to see a globe at the bottom of your screen. If you could please make sure to select English. Buenas noches a todos, gracias por participar y estar con nosotros esta noche. Les pido, si ustedes pueden expandir su pantalla un poco más, pueden ir a la porción de abajo de su pantalla donde ven un mapa mundo. Si pueden seleccionar ese mapa mundo y seleccionar español para que ustedes puedan escuchar a nuestra interpretadora esta noche. Muchas gracias. So thank you so much, Evie, for talking a little bit more broadly about what AROS is doing and the great work that we're doing in Maryland, and more specifically in Prince George's County. My name is Karen Guzman. I am the parent and community organizer for PGCEA, and been working also with a lot of the parents who are in this meeting tonight and teachers with AROS work, right? And what that means is we want to make sure that our community has a voice and that our parents are being heard. And we know that right now, so many things are happening with distance learning, with talks and conversations about going back to school and what that would look like, and making sure that we highlight the voices of our parents and our community in this discussion. And so that's what tonight's meeting is all about. And we're so grateful to have you all here with us to hear the voices from our community, from parents in PG County. And so I wanted to also talk a little bit more about why we're doing this second town hall. We actually had our first town hall on January 12th. And it was our first town hall ever that AROS did. And we had parents from over 35 schools in PG County participating in that event and just listening. And we asked them two main questions during the town hall. The first one was, what are the biggest challenges and barriers that they have in regards to distance learning? And the second question was, in regards to tonight's meeting, what we wanted to have a follow-up with elected officials, because you all are the decision makers, you all are the voice of our community. And as you are, doing that role, we want to make sure that you take into consideration the opinions, the perspectives of our community members, and really listening to what is their reality in this time. And so that was the second question, is what would you like for us to tell our elected officials in a follow-up town hall? And so here we are today, January 28th, with you all, and we're so grateful that you could have been in a million places, in a million meetings. I just got some text messages from some folks who weren't able to come because we just found out Dr. Goldson was also having a town hall tonight. So you could have been a part of that, but you're here with us tonight, and we're really grateful for that. So thank you for making the time and space to hear our parents. And so with that being said, I wanted to also mention that though the work we're doing can seem like we're doing it in a million schools, we're focusing on community schools in particular. And so the voices that you'll hear tonight are from some of our parent leaders who have been really involved in making sure that parent engagement in PG County is being sustained through these efforts of, especially in community schools, right? Where schools are not just an educational purpose, but a purpose to support the community as a whole, families as a whole, especially during this difficult time with distance learning and being in a pandemic. So just something to consider and take it into consideration as you hear from our parents tonight. And so with that being said, I know we have a lot of great special guests with us tonight. And so I'm going to give the microphone to Josh so he can shout you all out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you to all of our parents and guests and community members that have joined us tonight. And we just really quickly, we're aware, and we really want to thank all of our elected officials that have showed up tonight to participate in this conversation and hear from the parents some of their concerns and some of the things they'd like to see as we move towards schools reopening. And so I guess I'd like to start with acknowledging the elected officials that I see who are present here on the call. And you all will get an opportunity to respond and to kind of give your feedback a little later on in the conversation. So we'll get to hear from you, starting with Delegate Alonzo Washington, who does here on Collins, is doing a lot of work around the blueprint in Annapolis for us to make sure that veto is overwritten and to make sure that it happened last legislative session. I also see on the call, Councilmember Denoga. Thank you again for always being a supporter of education. I also see on the call as well from the Prince George's County Board of Education, Shayla Adams Stafford. Thanks for joining us, as well as Belinda Queen. Thank you again for joining us. And then Ms. Pamela Boozer Struthers. Always thank you again for joining us and supporting. And then, of course, I see Ms. Valerie Irving representing our school CEO this evening. Thank you again for joining us. And then the last person that I see on the call who's representing the State Board of Education and is a former parent organizer for PGCEA, Ms. Lori Morrow. Again, thank you for joining this conversation. Is there anyone that I'm missing that I see? I know we had a few other folks who have come in a little bit late. Is there any other elected officials on the call? All right, well, thank you guys so much. And we look forward to hearing your feedback a little bit later on in the conversation once we hear from our parents a little bit more. Karen?
Thank you so much, Josh. And I also want to mention that we have some new folks joining us. Para los hablantes en español, si ustedes están con nosotros, muchas gracias por participar en este encuentro esta noche. Hoy, esta noche, vamos a tener una interpretadora con nosotros, así que si ustedes pueden expandir su pantalla, pueden ver en la parte de abajo un mapa mundo. Si pueden seleccionar ese mapa mundo y seleccionar español o Spanish, ustedes pueden ya escuchar la voz de nuestra interpretadora que va a hablar en español para ustedes esta noche. Gracias. And if you're an English speaker also, if you want to make sure that you expand your screen, and at the bottom, you should find a little globe. If you select the globe and select English, you'll be on the English channel with us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh. So up next, we are going to hear from some of our amazing parents. In particular, we're going to start off with an amazing dynamic duo, a couple, Mr. Travis Gafford and Miss Jennifer Gafford, who are two parents representing Edward M. Feligy Elementary School. So if you guys could please unmute yourselves and share your testimonial with us tonight. Thank you.
Hi, how are you? My name is Travis, and this is my wife, Jennifer. We both live here in Prince George's County, and our son goes to Edward Feligy. He's kindergartner, and let's see, Legislative District 47B and Congressional District 4. So that you know that you're representing those. We're in those, I guess. Okay, so our testimonial. As residents in Prince George's County for our entire lives, my wife and I were students in the Prince George's County public school system. We both attended Eleanor Roosevelt High School and later University of Maryland. For me, my mom was an AP teacher at Walter Johnson High School in Montgomery County for over 30 years, and later a staff development teacher at Paint Branch High School. So there were no excuses when it came to studies. The connection between parents and teachers is important. Parents must understand the challenges of being a teacher in this pandemic, and teachers must understand the challenges of being a parent. Every day we observe our child's virtual class. He's 5 years old, and previously struggled with in-class preschool, believe it or not, before the pandemic and before attending embryology. Thankfully, he has an amazing teacher that interacts with the young learners and keeps them engaged throughout the day, which is no easy task. Quickly and remarkably, the class has been able to adapt to the virtual learning in kindergarten curriculum with the iPad and her guidance. There is a morning song, a morning joke, a dance, and little cues that help the young learners get settled and focused. And then she whisks them away into a land of learning. Her command of the classroom should be observed and duplicated, in my opinion. Her name is actually Miss Entwistle. I didn't put that in my test. I just wasn't sure if I was going to say that. But what can we do better? What can we change? Culture barrier is a growing issue. I go away. It's going to become worse unless we find alternative methods. The student population at Evergy is 70% Latino, Hispanic, or Spanish speaking. I applaud the teachers for attempting to learn Spanish using Google Translate, but these methods are not effective unless the teacher is fluent or Google Translate speaks fast and can understand different lingos. On an AROS meeting led by Ms. Karen Guzman, the meeting was held in Spanish and being translated to English. The turnout was a lot larger this way. Spanish-speaking parents felt included and felt more confident that their voice was going to be heard because the meeting was led in Spanish and the relatability of Ms. Guzman. The best part was that Ms. Frankel separated us into groups and I got to speak with Pamela Boozer-Strother about some of our issues. It was amazing to be able to have a representative of the Board of Education to speak with. And believe it or not, she too was having some of the issues that all parents are having. We discussed how our child's social interaction or lack thereof has completely changed since the pandemic. Organized team sports or clubs were exciting growing up and allowed for us kids to enjoy activities rather than online gaming or social media. Parents were faced with the challenge of limiting and monitoring screen time, which can be quite difficult with all the new content that is produced daily. And speaking of issues, just now as I listened to my son's virtual class, not right now, one of the students' iPad is malfunctioning, although it's being charged, the battery is not holding the charge. And this is not a one-off. This seems to be an issue that many students are dealing with. On our weekly community schools calls, which literally consists of me and my wife, representatives for the parents, and then teachers from Everfellogy, Mr. Hernandez shared that our chronic absenteeism is 10%. Seems like a large number to me, and I'm sure that it has in part to do with the tech barrier. Not everyone can operate a device as easily as the other, and the parents must have basic knowledge to be able to navigate the iPad. Another reason for this large percentage, for example, is that parents just don't have the bandwidth to sit with their child and teach after coming home from working an overnight shift at work. And in these times, many families are deciding what is most important and to prioritize as family dynamics have changed. We need to make sure that their child's education continues to be at the top of the list. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I also went to Roosevelt and UMD, so I didn't know that. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective and the reality, right, that so many parents are dealing with in regards to distance learning in this time. And up next, I would love to also give the microphone to our amazing parent, Monica Balmes from Templeton Elementary School. So if you could please unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi, Monica.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Balmes. I am a parent involved in the Islands to reclaim our schools in Prince George's County, and I've been involved in the Templeton Elementary School Community Schools group as one of the parent leaders. My Maryland Legislative District is 22, and my council is District 3. There are so many issues that Prince George's County hasn't fixed since my time when I was in school. I grew up in Prince George's County, Riverdale, Maryland, my whole life, and I attended Lamont Elementary School, Charles Carroll Middle School, and Parkdale High School. Growing up, my parents didn't know the language, and I didn't really understand what they had to do or what materials I needed for school because all the paperwork was always in English. I remember that I was my parents' translator. The first time I translated was at 8 years old, and in every parent-teacher conference, I was there to translate for my mother. Me and my siblings got to a point in age when we started speaking English to my mother and father so that my parents understood the language. Even though they didn't like us speaking in English in the house because they didn't want us to lose our primary language. They learned to understand English. Now my mother and father understand fluently. My father can speak it and my mother understands it very well. But because me and my siblings wanted them to understand and didn't want them to struggle like they did when we were growing up, I always wondered why in the schools that I went to, there weren't Spanish speaking staff to help parents that did not understand English. And still now being 2021 is still the same. When I go to my children's school, I see what I used to see when I was in school. Spanish speaking parents and so many Spanish speaking parents that need translators, but the county hasn't done anything to help. There should be more Spanish staff to have more help for families that need it. Another issue that I have is the staff and the teachers in the schools. Being a teacher means a lot and a lot of responsibilities and making change in a little life. I am a pre-K 2 to 3-year-old teacher in a child care center. Me being bilingual, I love incorporating both languages in my students because not all of my students are English speaking. So I love incorporating it to be able to teach both languages. And because I involve Spanish in my curriculum, my students understand Spanish and my Spanish speaking students understand English, and parents love that. I remember a time when I was in school, a teacher had told me, you need me, and without me, you will be nothing in life. For a teacher to say that to a student means they don't care. Now that I'm a mother and a teacher, I can see both perspectives, in a mother's perspective and in a teacher's perspective. My children have gotten amazing teachers and they always work with all the children. When my son first started his first year of school in kindergarten, I was nervous and scared because I didn't know what kind of teacher he was going to get. As soon as I saw her, I knew she was an amazing teacher because you can tell just by watching her. And now my daughter has her in 3rd grade and I'm so grateful. We need more teachers that care and involve themselves, mostly now with this pandemic, to do better to teach the children. Recordings are not helpful for children, mostly for small children because they cannot get help from the teacher if they need it. Also, they cannot in front of a screen with a recording because they don't have the same involvement as when they are with the teacher. This doesn't help the parent either because some parents don't not understand what they need to do to help their children. Prince George's County hasn't changed nothing in helping our children. This school year, my children's school was told about tablets for pre-Ks, kindergartners, and 1st graders. And up to now, they have not said anything about it ever again. The computers the children received are harder to complete assignments because they need mostly the writing skills during class and work-wise as well. I have to use my personal computer because they touch screen as well for my child to complete his assignments with no problems. But I feel that if the county is receiving money, they should be able to purchase these materials for our children to make it easier on them. I got the privilege to speak to other parents in the town hall meeting, and most of the parents have the same issues, like technical issues, or some families don't have a computer or tablet for their child or to use, or not understanding apps or how to work the apps. Parents not getting assistance from the teachers or the schools. The assignments teachers were sending are not fair, even when the assignments is 2 questions each. Like is ridiculous. Or homework is sent in English and most parents cannot understand it and can't help their children in completing it. Most of these students are failing classes because they do not have someone to assist them or help them in completing assignments. Due to the pandemic, I got laid off from work and I am home with my children, so I am able to put them in class and help them in completing assignments and assist them with any help they need with apps or a website. Some parents have to go to work and don't have someone to watch their children, or they have someone to watch their children but aren't helping the child during class. Or they have a grandparent or aunt that doesn't know the language or to use a computer, and it gets challenging on the child and the parent. Some parents have to pay so much money for someone to watch the children, and the children are failing instead of passing. If there were programs for families to leave their children like a child care center to watch them and help them in class assignments, homeworks, or in a link, these children will not be failing. We need these kinds of programs and an affordable price as well, where the parents can afford to help their children. It is really sad to see that instead of progressing for a better future, we are still falling. We need help for all the families in this county, and we have to bring our voices together and express our feelings for our children and how we can change Prince George's County into better learning place for our children. I want to hear so many positive ways the county is helping all the communities and how it changes families into better. I hear all these great news from other counties and all the changes they are doing, and I think it's time for us to be there too. Growing up here my whole life, we were known as the low class, the okay, the county that will try and it's not. And that's not what I want to see in my children's education or future. I want to see progress in test scores. I want to see students achieving in reading and math. I want to see all these programs to help children get to a better to help children get to a goal. Hearing a principal or vice principal saying that we are trying to aim for students to score in tests to at least 50% is not someone that wants better for our children. Me as a parent, and to hear that hurts me because it means that they don't want to better the education for our students and are not looking for ways to help the students better themselves. I will never say that's the minimum. I want the students to score. I would have said we will find ways to make each and every student get to where they need to get to score 100%. And if they cannot reach that the first time, we will work 10 times harder to be there the next time. We have to push and help each other and help these children, but we cannot do it without using our voices and fighting for what's right. Why hasn't Prince George's County tried to change? Where's all the money in the county and getting going or being used for? Why can't our children have a better education? Why isn't the county doing anything to help these children and families? Why haven't things changed since I was in school?
Thank you so much, Ms. Valmes, for speaking, truth to power and sharing your story, right? I think these testimonials both shared their own personal narratives, but I think are very reflective of the reality that we see and the opinions and the perspectives that were shared in our last town hall meeting from many parents. And so I just want to make sure that even though our parents share their stories, this isn't just a one-time thing. This has been something that we've been seeing consistently across the board for months and months, and why this town hall with elected officials is so important tonight, once again. And I love seeing the comments in the chat from other folks who feel like what was said resonated with them. So if you also want to share any opinions, please feel free to do so. We are going to also have an opportunity for parents and community members to ask any questions for elected officials, and for elected officials to also respond to what you just heard. But up next, we actually have another amazing parent. Her name is Lisa So, and she's going to be reading a letter that was, again, bringing all of these thoughts and perspectives together, and what we would like to see from our elected officials. So Lisa, could you please unmute yourself?
Hi, my name is Lisa So. I'm in Congressional District 5 and in Council District 3. I'll just be reading the letter from the parents from the previous town hall. Dear state delegates, Prince George's County Board of Education officials, and leaders of PGCPS in our community. We, the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, PG parents of students in Prince George's County, are writing to demand support and commitment to ensure better partnership between leadership and parents, more effective communication to families, increased technological and internet support and funding, and to see programs such as equity hubs being used to care for children falling behind during distance learning. As $122 million have been allocated to PGCPS under the CARES Act, we desire our voice to be heard as decisions are made about how these monies will affect our community. On January 12, 2021, parents from all over the county participated in the Alliance to Reclaim Our Schools, or the AROS town hall meeting, to specifically discuss the challenges facing students and parents in this unique situation. From their ideas, solutions, and issues, 3 major needs stood out: communication and decisions, internet and technology, and the inequity for students falling behind. Parents of AROS desire to be a part of the decisions that impact not only their children, but the family dynamics and thus their general quality of life. By including parents, a unique perspective and key insights into the practical feasibility of how our schools are run and shaped would be valuable and prevent wasted time and funds on programs and schedules that don't logistically work for families. So some ways to address this would be to have more consistent meetings to set up on a state level as well as with the Prince George's Board of Education. Emails can often get missed, or if you have a language or literacy barrier, the message can get lost. Some ways to address this are to include voice messages, utilize Facebook and social media, and text messaging. We acknowledge this issue is complex, but we hope that you will consider alternate and more approaches to having clear information sent to families. Another major concern was internet access and technological disparities among families. We suggest increasing technology trainings and hotline hours beyond school hours so that parents who work during the daytime can access those resources. Additionally, utilizing recorded trainings on the website and school websites in different languages to increase accessibility for parents who work or who have language barriers. And lastly, we ask you to review the PGCPS contract with Comcast and demand that they increase the bandwidth for low-income students who utilize Comcast. Low-income students, especially those with more than one student or parent using the program, are having their schooling constantly interrupted by unreliable internet. We ask for more funding for hotspots as well, as still many families do not have any access to internet. Lastly, we ask for programs like equity hubs or ones that use similar models. Based on the attached board action review, which Ms. Shayla Adams Stafford wrote, the link is in the chat, we urge you to double the suggested pilot and run this program for 8 schools and 416 students at approximate cost of $416,000. Families and students are falling behind, and the disparity between those parents who can afford to work from home and those who cannot just cannot be overstated. Many children are losing a full year of school and will have a large gap between their peers. Low-income families, English as second language students, homeless and foster children, students who are already failing need the highest priority in receiving additional support. We as parents cannot watch our own children, as well as the children of others, to fall so far behind without fighting for them to have a chance to thrive. We thank you for your time and consideration and ask that you give us a commitment to support our 3 demands: for more consistent communication with parents, support for technology and access for families in PG County, and support in creating equity hubs for our most marginalized students in PG County as part of the reopening plan by agreeing to sign our letter tonight via the Google Form link. AROS will continue to follow up with additional information and written testimonies as needed. Sincerely, the AROS PG parents of Prince George's County students.
Thank you so much, Ms. So, for your thoughtful words, and I think for really capturing everything that all of our parents have been saying and have been expressing these past couple months, this first quarter of distance learning, right? And particularly in our last town hall. And so now we want to, we shared the link to the Equity Hub Sport Action Summary that that Ms. Adams Stafford proposed, right, at the Board of Ed meeting for PG County, and something that really resonated with our parents as well. We're also putting in the chat the letter that was just read by Ms. So all of our elected officials can read it more carefully, and also so that you could sign it and show your support. But also we want to hear from you all. If there's anybody who would like to say something in regards to the letter, or if you would like to ask any clarifying questions, this is for our elected officials. If anybody would like to say anything, please unmute yourselves, or you could raise your hand, or you could write in the chat, but we would love to hear from you at this point. Yes, Miss Pamela Boozer-Strother.
All right, thank you so much. It's so great to hear the testimony this evening. And I think the point about the deeper inclusion of parents in decision making, I couldn't agree more. And one thing I want to say that I'm so pleased about is that AROS PG will be part of the Community Schools Steering Committee, as soon as we work that through the board policy revision on membership in that committee. And I think that is that brings the organization and the voices in, more structurally, which is critical. And the work that's happening in each of the schools is the community school steering committees. It is a huge change. And we know that the PTA, PTO model has just not worked for all parents and families. And that is something that I certainly learned at Mount Rainier Elementary and really care a lot about. So I just want to let you know that I'm hearing, listening, and really ready to support the way we change engagement, everything from language access and recognizing literacy of parents. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for your words and for being with us tonight. And I also see Ms. Shayla Stafford, if you would like to say something.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to AROS for having this opportunity for parents to engage with elected officials and really talk about the realities of virtual learning. And, that board action summary that you see that I've written there is really out of just, hearing testimonies like the ones we heard tonight and talking with folks in my district just about how difficult it is to be an essential worker and monitor your students' virtual learning, or someone who does not speak English and you're trying to support students with their homework. And I understand that this is very difficult for a lot of families. And I am, really just grateful to hear the support that this board action summary has received across the county. And so I'm really hoping, and we were so lucky to have our colleagues really come around this on the first reader, as you saw last month, and this month with a great vote on taking this to our committee, and that's what we're going to be doing next week, is really talking more about equity hubs this upcoming week, and really thinking through what this can look like here in Prince George's County, because I'm feeling really positive that this is something that we can do to help our most vulnerable students. So one other point that I wanted to make, I want to agree with my colleague, Ms. Boozer Struthers, that having more support with parents and policymakers, that's really what our job is on the Board of Education, is to really work with community members and parents. And so something Ms. Morrow and I have talked about is, thinking about how do we bring back that parent advisory council that was here years ago in Prince George's County, where we had parents, talking regularly with the board. And that's something that should happen. And so I'm really just happy to hear all that we're talking about. And please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll drop my information in the chat.
Thank you so much. Yes, if you all would please be able to write your information in the chat, I think our parents, our community members would love to follow up with you, and especially about having a voice in the table, right? And having their opinions being taken into account and their perspective. So thank you so much for being with us tonight and for your comments. And up next, I see that my state delegate, Delegate Washington from District 22, raised his hand. Thank you for being with us tonight. And yes, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, and great to see you, and great to see everybody else on here, all of my partners in education. Look, I think you all know that we have a lot of work to do in education and in this space, and we need parents in order to do it. Just so you know who I represent, or the areas I represent as a state delegate, I represent parts of Northwestern High School. I also represent Duval High School, Roosevelt High School, and Parkdale High Schools. So if your elementary school or your middle schools are near and close by to those, that's where I represent. I represent over 126,000 people in Prince George's County, and have been doing so for the last 8 to 9 years, and working on progressive policies and to ensure that Black and Brown communities alike are being put to the forefront of education and educational issues in Annapolis. I serve as the education subcommittee chair in Annapolis. So any education policies that are proposed by delegates or senators have to be approved by me in order to become law. And I'm the first Black person to hold this position, and so the first Prince Georgian to hold this position to make sure that education equity actually happens within our schools. And so if you look at the blueprint for Maryland's future, you'll see that there's a plethora of goals in there for African American, Latino, and Spanish and English as a second language priorities placed in the bill. That's due to me and my advocacy and organizations like yours and like CASA and like the NAACP advocating for these. And because I'm in the room to get these things done, I made sure they were in the bill to make sure that we get the funding that's deserved to us through our community schools, through our community school liaisons, through our community school coordinators, to make sure that they also speak Spanish, especially in the areas where it's focused, where our areas where we know that we have a high population of immigrants and a high population of people that do speak Spanish, so that our communities have the resources they need and that are necessary for them to thrive in education. You know, I heard the comment earlier about like, what has our school system done for us over the last, since we've been in high school, right? And I'm old enough to be to be someone's parent in school because I graduated in 2002 from Laurel High School. And so, you know, so I know how you feel in that fight, that things aren't happening and things aren't moving. You know, Laurel High School looks exactly the same from when I was there. And so does William Beans when I went there in elementary school down south in Prince George's County. And so my goal here is to override the governor's veto for the blueprint for Maryland's future so that we can get money that's due to us here in Prince George's County. We're going to see over $300 million a year pressed into Prince George's County that's going to go to schools. That's not just going to go to the school system at large. It's going to go to the student in the school. It's going to go directly to the student, directly to that school, so it can be used, and it will be tracked by the state to make sure that money is used well. So we're no longer in a period of giving money to the school system and hoping they do something great with it. We put directives in here that make sure that they have to meet the metrics that are outlined by the state in order for us to excel. This is not just giving money after bad. This is about accountability for our teachers, accountability for our school system, so that we can see that our Black and brown students, our Black and brown kids, our Black and brown families finally get the education that they deserve. And that's our major goal here. And I heard you loud and clear tonight that that's what you want, and you want more communication. And so we're going to give that to you by overriding this veto. But we need people like you to stand up in Annapolis and to help us get this thing done. And people like Shayla and other folks on this, school board are going to help us get this thing done too. So, so thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm going to look at Ms. So's letter and take a look at that. And I know Shayla shared with me, school board member Stafford shared with me her some of the things that she's working on, and we're going to work together to get those things done too. So thank you, everybody, and I look forward to taking any questions people may have. Or I don't know what the dialogue is, Karen, for this, but just wanted to say that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for your comments and, you know, for representing PG County and for really taking into account everything that our parents shared tonight. We are definitely going to have a little bit of a dialogue right now, and then we're going to open up the floor for any questions, answers. So we'll have much more time to have a better dialogue at that moment. Thank you. And I also see that we have PGCPS board member, Ms. Belinda Queen, if you would like to unmute yourself.
Thank you so very much. I just want to actually ditto everything that was said, but just to add a little bit more. One the speakers did talk about the internet access across the board. As a retired Verizon telephone company worker after 30 years of the internet access, I actually have concern. Even being on a board education as a retiree, I do get my Verizon internet, but I had to have Comcast, and sometimes I'm on the phone, I'm on meet, and what will happen is that my Verizon may go out and I may have to switch over to my Comcast because my internet is not stable. So I can imagine with me having two, how it is for a parent or a student. And I even seen where even with my grandbaby having issues. So it's a big problem. And so I do believe not only that we need to negotiate, but I'm so glad the delegate is on the line, because I believe it needs to be a statewide thing where internet access need to be available to everyone. I think we don't need to just go through it as a school system letter, but as a county letter. More people are working at home. We're going more toward the 21st century now. Internet access is going to be so important for us to do everything. If we realize we're using it now for not only just our banks to pay bills, but we're using it so much. So I think it's not just a school system issue. I think it's going to go a little bit farther where we may have to go to the state and say, hey, we need our communication companies to do a little bit better. And it may be something that we need free to all of our residents and citizens across the board. So thank you guys for addressing that.
Thank you so much. I think the internet piece is something that we are still, working with, and it's been trial and error. And I think our parents are definitely really seeing, right, what are the advantages and disadvantages and how we can improve that. So, as much support as we can get to make to improve things, I think it's going to help a lot of families, especially like was mentioned in the letter, low income families, right, that are at most risk. So thank you for being with us tonight and for sharing your opinions and perspectives. And up next, we have County Council Member Thomas Dernoga. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here. I'll be brief. I'm here to learn and listen, and I certainly heard a lot. I know it's not. I've heard these types of concerns raised by parents. In the past, PGCA has brought parents to talk to the council back before we were virtual. CASA has brought parents. Last year in particular, PGCA was tremendous in bringing either teachers or parents down to the council on a regular basis. And I've had a long-standing relationship with PGCA. Real quick, for those of folks, I don't see anybody from District 1 here, so I'm disappointed. So a lot of folks don't know me. I served on the county council from 2002 to 2010. I was chair twice of the council back then, and I had a great relationship with PGCA in helping with a lot of budget initiatives. One of the things I was an advocate for was repairing our older buildings. It's nice to build the new buildings, but more of our students are in the old buildings with many problems. And I still believe that now that I'm back. I came back in 2018. So I sat out for 8 years, but I've renewed my relationship with PGCA. I've renewed my relationship with CASA. And the frustrating part for the council is we don't make decisions when it comes to the schools. We're mostly advocates, and we approve the funding. And we try to give the school system as much funding as they want. So when I hear the parent complaints, I don't want to duck the issue. It's like we need to rely on the CEO and the school board members to make the best decisions they can make with the limited funding that they have, or the amount of funding that they have. But PGCA and the parents were very successful, I believe, when they came in 2019, telling us what really needed to be in the budget. They were heard. We listened to them. We heard about paraprofessionals, school psychologists. We were instrumental in getting the teachers step increases that have been languishing for years. So when we talk about equity hubs, I think getting in front of the county council to push that issue is going to be very helpful. And the one thing that this gets tricky, when we get presentations from the school system, it's always the CEO. I think it'd be helpful if we had presentations from the school board members with some of the initiatives that they're interested in. So while it's great to hear from the CEO, I think it's beneficial from the school board members. And I'm this staff on the school board, and it's great to see that she's right out of the box, has a great initiative. And I think it's something that the council can get behind. So thank you for putting on this meeting.
Definitely. Thank you. And thank you for being with us tonight. And like you said, it's great to have folks from different perspectives too. So it's been great to have state delegate, to have also the county council, because some of our parents, right, might not understand how we're distributing, what are the different roles between our elected officials and how that impacts our education. And I know folks are going to have an opportunity to ask more questions later on, but it's great to have your perspective, and thank you for being with us tonight. Really appreciate it.
I want to make one more point, because This is important for contact. I'm not Black or brown, and I recognize when I represent a county that is filled with a population of Black and brown people, it's incumbent on me to try to understand and learn as much as I can. But one of the first things I did coming back, my chief of staff is Latino female. I have bilingual people in my office. Yeah. So if people who don't speak English need assistance, my office is there to help provide that. So I just want to offer that up, is that we do what we can to reach out to everybody in our district or across the county.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And I know Hilda is interpreting that for Spanish speakers, so thank you for mentioning that. Great. Up next, we have Ms. Lori Morrow, who's representing the Maryland State Board of Education. So if you would like to unmute yourself, you're more than free to do so.
Good evening, everyone. This is so exciting because for anybody who didn't know, I was actually working with PGCA and AROS up until my appointment on the state board, essentially. So I love seeing that there are so many people on this call tonight and that this work is continuing to move forward. Obviously, I support AROS. I support the work that you guys are doing. In my position at board, I think I have really tried to make sure that we are bringing forth the different perspectives that we hear from across the state, because this is certainly not a one-size-fits-all state. You know, I pointed out to some folks last night, you could divide Prince George's County in 3, and each of those thirds would still be larger than 18 other districts in Maryland. So we definitely have some unique challenges. And I hope that with my voice on the state board that I'm doing all that I can to help represent everybody at the state as well. Speaking specifically about the internet, that is something that we are talking about the state, and it's actually something that we've talked about with the National Association for State Boards of Education, because this is a nationwide issue, and this is something that we definitely all need to keep moving forward. We are in a digital society now, and this is something that we certainly cannot let continue as it is. And on the communication piece, I put my link tree in the chat, but I am on social media a lot. So I am on Facebook and Twitter. I know anybody who's on some of the Prince George's parents groups probably sees me there. I am always happy to answer questions and help try to explain what's going on in the state, and certainly to help elevate the voices from Prince George's County at the state level as well. So I am happy to help answer questions, and just thank you for all the work that you guys continue to do to build these teams of teachers and parents, because that's what's really going to make difference in our schools and keep everything moving. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I can definitely attest, you share such great information on Facebook and social media. So if you don't follow Ms. Lori Morrow, make sure that you do follow her Linktree, because she always posts about a lot of great things that are happening, and it's a great way to stay informed about everything related to education and in the county especially. Folks, please continue to write your information in the chat as well. Like, I know that's going to be really helpful for our community members, for parents who are with us tonight, to stay in touch with you all. But now we're really opening up the floor to everybody. And we want to make sure that parents who haven't had a chance to speak, community members, I see some great school staff, community school coordinators, teachers who are here with us tonight. And I'm sure that folks have questions. So if anybody wants to ask a question, you can unmute yourself, raise your hand, or also type it in the chat box, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But we really want to hear from you tonight. We want to make sure that your questions are getting answered, and that, you know, folks hear what you have to say, your perspective and your voice matters. So please feel free to unmute yourself. Please feel free to raise your hand. Please feel free to type it in the chat. I'm happy to read them out loud as they come in.
you know, I don't see any questions popping up, but I'll say something just to fill the void of questions.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So we're gonna have 3 different bills next year that I just want to highlight to everyone so everyone knows. So we're going to have a veto override bill that the Senate has already moved it. The House will move it next. And so for families at home, the governor vetoed the blueprint for Maryland's future. And we have to override it as a legislature. And so we need 85 votes in the House of Delegates in order to do that. We believe we have the 85 votes. Let me just say that, right? Like, our plan is to override the governor's veto. We have 99 Democrats in the House of Delegates. The Senate already overwritten it. Then because the blueprint has specific dates in it and specific times when things need to happen, we have to change those laws and update it so it's up to date and current. Then we're also going to add some other pieces to it that speaks to virtual learning in the time that we're living in now, to make sure we expand broadband access, to make sure we expand computer access for families and students alike. You know, I was the chair of the virtual learning work group that the speaker put together, so I led that work group. And so we're going to have a full bill looking at that's going to transform how we do virtual learning and provide more resources to families, but also it's going to have things on there, issues in there about extending the class time and extending the school day, having summer school for folks that have for students that have learning loss during this time, providing more tutoring, access in tutoring and direct tutoring for students to catch them up. And this is directly one-on-one and sometimes group settings too, that we found to be one of the most things that are effective for students if it's done well. So we're gonna fully put in money for this, and we're just so thankful that we have a new president in office that's going to send money down to our school systems to help out to mitigate learning loss too. So that money will come from the federal government. Some of it already has, but we're going to see more of that to help make sure that our families are taken care of and to fund a lot of the education inequalities that are happening right now throughout our school systems. So I hope I filled the time.
Yes, and Delegate Washington, where can folks find out more information if they want to read more about this? Some folks here might have never heard of the blueprint, right? So how can they learn a little bit more about this? Do you have any links you recommend or websites that folks should check out?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, PGCA has been at the forefront of fighting for this. So I'm pretty sure they will be able to give all the parents here the ability to have I'm sure they have a link that can speak to the bill and its benefits. So I'll leave that to him. I'll leave that to them, excuse me, to highlight. But they can always go to my website, go to my page, and you'll see updates on those.
Can I take that pitch?
I'm not as good as Miss Morrow on the social media stuff. I have to learn from her. So I'll be taking a snapshot of her page and updating my stuff, or even taking her stuff and sharing it as my own.
Can I jump in on the pitch here?
Sure.
Good evening, Delegate Washington. We're so proud of you and the work that you're doing in Annapolis. For those of you I haven't had the pleasure to meet, my name is Teresa Dudley, and I'm the current president of the Prince George's County Educators Association. And I was busy on the phone listening to Dr. Golson's town hall that she had for employees tonight. And she outlined on the information about vaccines for our educators and our employees of the school system. So as Lori Morrow put in the chat, Strong Schools Maryland is a great place for information. The other place for information is Blueprint, marylandblueprint.org. There's information there, and there's also a link on there in the upper right-hand corner that you can send Delegate Washington and different members of the General Assembly correspondence about overriding the blueprint. It is the social justice issue of our immediate generation as far as our education community is concerned. And Delegate Washington has put many years into this, so has Senator Pinsky, and we thank them for that work. it is critical that Prince George's County residents rise up and support our elected officials and make sure that this override happens. Along with the override of the veto, we must make sure that we do everything we can to protect our schools. And when I say protect our schools, I mean, what are we doing around this community schools model that we have been working so hard to see implemented in the county? The Maryland Blueprint provides funding for it, but there are other places that our county government can help us. The county government can help support the community school models with their social services program. They can also help the community schools models by making sure that we have the mental health practitioners we should have and the caseloads that we have. Now look, we knew we had problems when we closed, when the schools went to distance learning. We knew about the digital divide since the internet even became an issue. That now is the chance for us to reopen the schools that we want to see. And I'm asking parents, you can hit me up at president@pgcea and share with me how you'd like to be involved. Because if we don't circle the wagon around the school system and we allow people to be fragmented, you know, all the elected officials say education is their priority. And I'm going to tell you, there are legislators like Delegate Washington and Senator Pinsky who have really been walking the walk on public education. The issue is, hey, our county council uses maintenance of effort, which is how much money they have to put in the school systems, as a maximum amount that they will put in, as opposed to making that the floor and the least amount that they can put in and make it better. So we want to work together. We want to work with our state. We want to work with our county. We want to work with our parents and the whole community to protect our schools. So it's president@pgcea.org. You can reach me there. And I am the president of the 10,000 or few members of PGCEA, but I also work on the state level, on the state board, and on the national level. So if there's something you think I should know about, hit me up, and I'm listening. I want to take a moment of personal privilege here and thank Ms. Guzman for all of her work in putting this event together this evening. And if memory serves me correctly, I believe Evie Frankel is on this call. She was also instrumental. And our community schools lead person, my vice president, my salt to my pepper, Yvonne Basich, who I just adore her. And she has really been working hard to help us get the inclusive leadership established in the community schools. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. Stay safe. I'm getting my vaccination. I think Saturday they told me I'm supposed to go. If you don't want to get it, don't get it. But it'll keep you from being sick. And I'm hearing over and over again that people are getting sick. Check with your doctor and see what your doctor says. If your doctor tells you to get it, go ahead on and get it. Because even with getting the vaccine and having a majority of people vaccinated, Dr. Fauci said that we probably won't have herd immunity until November. So don't play with your health. You know, Williams, our former president, always tells me,
Teresa, we love you. We got a bunch of parents who we still want to have ask questions.
I'm done, Evie. I'm done.
I love you.
I'm done. Have a nice night.
Katarina's waiting, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, Teresa. Yes, I know Katarina's been waiting. Thank you for thank you for raising your hand. Definitely feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions you have, Katarina.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Katarina Witt. I am a 5th grade teacher liaison at Mary Harris Mother Jones Elementary School. And I just had we're calling it the Jaguar Circle at our school. It's our community circle. And I just had one on Monday. And during this circle, I made my own type of needs survey. And I found out that out of the 70 parents that have filled out the survey, about 50 of them, their most needed need is food. The second is shelter, like help with housing and shelter. These are basics. If we know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that's the bottom. And then we can get up to learning. Learning is at the top, right? The self-knowledge, the self-awareness, those types of things. And so that really, it hit me hard to see that, because what that means is that our students have a difficult time concentrating, right? Because they're not focused on, oh, I need to get an 100 on this test. No, they're focused on where am I gonna eat next? What am I gonna eat next? There's rain falling from our roof when it rains. That's not okay. There's things like this that are happening. And I think that it's important for our systems to understand this, because we put pressure on parents and we put pressure on students, and we do that through grades, through attendance, through all these things. And grades and attendance, they're both they're a tool. They're a tool of oppression. Just because I know PG County is an amazing county and it is the wealthiest Black community in America, which is amazing. And I love working for this county and I love working for this community. But that doesn't mean that oppression doesn't exist in this county. And our school system is somehow a tool to that oppression, right? The school to prison pipeline is a real thing. And grades and attendance contribute to that. And we have been able to do without grades. We did it last year when the pandemic first hit. We're in a pandemic, which is amazing. And I think that it's also important to remember, I think it's dangerous to think and to say that our children are falling behind, because really in actuality, they are surviving a pandemic, right? We're all surviving. It's amazing that we're here tonight, all of us. So these are important things that we need to keep in mind. And I want to know when we can really uproot and progressively radicalize our system to serve the needs of our students, truly. Because I don't know if these students are going to need what the water cycle really is, or in their lifetime, what is algebra, those types of things. They're going to need to know how to survive. They're going to need to know how to communicate and to resolve conflicts, these types of things. And we're still teaching them in social studies that colonizers are explorers, and they did European expansion, not colonization. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going on a tangent if you let go, but thank you so much for everybody for listening. Yeah, and thank you for this space, Karen. And
yeah, thank you, Katerina, for sharing. I think the needs assessment that you highlighted in your conversation and in what you said is so critical, right? Because what happens right now too is, like, a lot of times we don't even know what families are really going through. I know our county does a great job at trying to provide resources, like we have hotlines, we have, we have these tech hubs for parents to go and ask questions, but then how is that accessible to them if they're only open during school hours, right? During hours where parents might be working. And so the needs assessment that you talked about, and the fact that you guys took an initiative to create that and ask parents, and 70 parents fill that out, is so critical, because that's helping us understand what are their needs and what do they want and where resources can be allocated. So thank you so much for mentioning that and highlighting that. I don't know if there's anyone, I see that there's a bunch of recommendations on the chat. Thank you for sending the links.
Keisha Thorpe has her hand up.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Keisha, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sure. Good night, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. And thank you for Ms. Guzman for hosting this. I think this is a great platform for especially our district leaders to really hear some of the concerns parents and teachers and school leaders have. I want to echo something that Karen just talked about. I'm a community school liaison from my school, International High School Langley Park, and our school is, of course, mainly English language learners. And so, of course, we have the kids from the hard to count community and the students who, of course, their parents, it's really hard for those parents to get resources. We just did a survey as well, a needs assessment survey. And with our survey, just to kind of echo the same thing that she spoke about, is that food insecurity, 65% of our kids. And this is actually not from the parents' perspective. We had done one before where it went home to parents, but it is more even enlightening when we actually see the students speaking up and saying that these are their needs at home. These are the things that they see that their family is struggling with. So yeah, 65% of our students said they had food insecurity. We had housing was number 2. So just like her, food was number 1 and housing was number 2. And we even had some anecdotal notes where students are like, my sister, I have, the kid is also underage and they have to stay home and stay with their younger siblings because their parent actually have to go out of state to go work and leave those young kids at home. And the kids are like, it's really hard because they can't come to school because they're taking care of their siblings because their parent has to go out to make sure that they have a shelter, and food to eat. One of the things that we really put on there that was alarming to us was personal hygiene products. And over 40% of the kids said that they did not have personal hygiene products at home. And so that was one of the things that stood out to us because we did not know that there was such a high need for personal hygiene products and feminine products for female students. And clothing was our next one because we think that students are home. They may not need clothing. And that's also one of the reasons why a lot of kids don't want to turn their cameras on as well, is that, they don't have proper clothing to come to school as well. So those were some of our highest needs. Of course, we could all throw out resources. We can always send home flyers with all these websites and all these numbers and all that kind of stuff. I know my school community, and I know most of my kids are their parents are immigrants. And even if you send the flyer home and it's in Spanish, it doesn't mean much to them. We want people who can actually provide like tangible resources for them. Have a place where they can actually go up, see someone who they know, see someone who they trust in their community, because a lot of these immigrant families, they don't want to go to these places. You can say, oh, go to the food bank. They're not going to trust just walking up into the food bank, especially the kind of political climate that we're in. Yes, it's getting better, but at the same time, that does not take away the trauma that they have gone through with the past administration and the issues that still surround undocumented immigrants. So they don't feel safe in their community. And so asking them to step out and go into these places creates a lot of fear for them. So this is for the district leaders. How can you guys come together to make sure that there are tangible things that these people can hold on to, places where they can go, where they can see people who they know, who they can trust, people who have their best interests at heart, rather than just giving them a number or an email or a website and say, just go and show up. What can we provide in our community? So that they can feel safe and know that their needs are being met at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thorpe. I know that you have your hand raised, but before I give you the mic, I just wanted to give the space to any elected official if anybody wants to respond to both what Ms. Katarina Witt shared and Ms. Keisha Thorpe.
I was gonna say, I think just hearing from Katerina and Keisha, and as a former educator, Katerina's words really struck me, in thinking about what are students' basic needs. And the concept of grades right now is, it's really, are we grading what students can do, or are we grading privilege, right? If you have access to a laptop, if you have internet, if you have a quiet space to do work, those are some of the questions that we have to think about. And in thinking about what Ms. Thorpe just shared, thinking about how do we provide a space where students can go to get food and to get support with virtual learning. And so I just want to urge everyone, if you haven't checked out the board action summary that I sent regarding learning hubs and equity hubs, and I know that AROS is doing work around getting support for this. This is one way that other counties and other places across the country are providing support for our most vulnerable students. So I think that is a very clear way that we can provide support for students that are in most need.
Buenas noches.
Buenas
Sí,
noches, Reina, ¿cómo estás?
Buenas noches. Sí, sí, la escucho. Yo con una sugerencia, todo lo que lo que he escuchado de todas las personas que estamos en esta reunión, que se haga posible todo lo que se ha hablado sobre las ayudas a los padres, alquileres, comida, que no solo sean palabras, que no se olviden de todo lo que que han estado hablando. Es duro todo lo que todas las personas estamos pasando. Yo soy una de ellas, ¿verdad? Que no le puedo decir, estoy re bien en mi hogar, pero gracias a Dios, como yo le digo a mis hijos, que sean frijolitos y arroz, lo tenemos. Sí.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody's here can hear me now. So I just want to make sure that everything that you are saying. I just want to for the officials to know everything that you guys said. I just wanted to know myself that it's not just words that you're saying about helping us and providing with food and providing with rental assistance or whatever is the help that you're saying. I just don't want this to be just words. I'm not doing so badly. Thank God I have, even if it's just beans, I have something.
Muy bien. Nosotros, está bien, gracias. Nosotros con mi esposo trabajamos los dos. En la mañana trabajo yo, en la noche trabaja él. Tenemos un sueldo de $500, $600 a la quincena. No sé si ustedes hacen sus presupuestos, eso no alcanza. Pagamos renta, internet y muchas cosas. Entonces yo lo que les pido, ¿verdad? A todas las personas de alto poder que tomen en cuenta esto, que no solo sean palabras, que sí disculpen no sé si lo voy a decir como le dijera, como abusiveso, no sé, perdón, pero como dicen, que les entre aquí, pero que no les salga aquí, por favor. Muchas gracias.
I just want to let you know a little bit about my family. I work during the daytime. My husband works during the evening. We only have $500, $600 every 15 days. That is not enough for us to pay rent and food and everything else and the bills. So I want the people that right now can make decisions, the people with the power, they can hear us and can understand the situations that we are going through right now. And we really need to, I really wanted to say this, and I'm sorry I have to say it like this. I don't want you to just hear from one side and just to go through the other ear. I want you to really hear what I'm saying and see if we can get some help.
Wow, muchísimas gracias, Reina, por tu valentía y por compartir tus pensamientos y tu perspectiva. Yo creo que es muy válido y es muy bienvenido en este espacio. Muchísimas gracias. Yeah, I just wanted to thank her for her bravery and for sharing that. And I think this is something that we see is resonating with a lot of parents in today's meeting, and something that is new to me as well. But I think the urgency is now, and I think I'm really grateful that we have all of you all here with us so you could really listen to the voices that our parents are saying and sharing tonight.
And
Yvette, I know you've been having your hand raised. I'm going to go to Yvette, and then I see you, Ms. Queen. I'll also give you the microphone.
to her, yes.
Okay, awesome. Yvette, do you want to go and share your question, please?
All right, so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening in order to hear us, parents, staff alike. One of the questions that I do have is, what immediate response are we going to receive as parents? I know that's one of the things that has resonated deeply within myself, as being a product of PG, as well as also seeing a lot of the hardships that a lot of our families are dealing with in our school system is something that I had to go through as being a product of PG County schools. It's been the same thing year in, year out. When is there going to be a drastic change? And what can we expect before this school year is over? When next school year, what are we expecting for next school year? And where do we see ourselves within 5, 6 years from now? How is our school system going to change? You know, we can continue voicing our opinions, voicing our concerns, but we need to change now, because we have really great talent in our schools and they're literally just scraping by. And that shouldn't be that way.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reyes, for sharing your question. I'm going to let elected officials ponder on that. You asked a lot of great questions. In the meantime, Ms. Queen, do you want to speak on Reina's comment?
Yes, I do. I want to thank her for her comments. I don't speak in Spanish, so I can't reply back in Spanish. But I do want to let her know that was one of the reasons I ran for school board. I am a parent. I'm a community activist. I am a grandparent. I'm out in the community, you guys. I've been through almost everything that most of you been through. I've been through the paycheck from paycheck. I've been through all the issues that everybody, and I think one of the biggest things is we need to make sure that we do have elected leaders who understand. Even as a parent and a grandparent now, I understand, I said earlier, the internet failure. I understand now, like even with my grandkid, I have to let one of her classmates, and I thank God she had the number, they come over and they do their schoolwork here at least once a week, because I know socialization is so important, but everyone don't have that. But I understand what my older grandkids are going through. I have one who just went to middle school and she's been so excited to play basketball, and now she can't play basketball. I understand. I have a senior who's about to graduate this year, and guess what? I have problems because I get emails from teachers saying sometimes she's not online. So here she does A and B student in school, and now I'm having issues with her being at home. Trust me, I understand. As a parent, I go through some of the same things, and that's why I'm on the board daily fighting for change. I'm on the board daily fighting, because it's not just me on the board just doing a vote. My vote is for everything you guys go through. I hear you out in the community. I hear your frustration. I feel your frustration. I go through your frustration. So I know. So no, all of the elected leaders out here are not just leaders out here, not just giving you words. We feel you. We go through some of the same things you go through as community leaders, as parents. And we just want to make sure that Prince George's County, we all live, work, and play together. I can't live on one side of Prince George's County and think I'm in this beautiful brick house, and then my neighbors are struggling. I can't do that, because guess what? If my neighbors hurt, I'll hurt. So we will be here for you. We will continue to be here to help you. We will do the best we can as elected leaders to make sure that we can do whatever we can to help you with your elected if we can, to help you with your gas, to help you with food, and to help the kids, as we will help them. All kids, and I'll say this as I stop, school systems have been inside forever, and it was kids who wasn't getting it in school. But guess what? I'm learning that some kids are doing better with online learning. So we have to be a diverse society. This has taught us so much. It may have hurt us, but it has pushed us more toward the 21st century. But together, Prince George's County, we will get there, and we will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate your comments, and thank you for representing from a mother's perspective as well, and identifying with the stories you heard tonight. I also want to give the opportunity for anybody who wants to also comment on Ms. Yvette Reyes's question. I see that Shayla added a response in the chat. Does anybody want to unmute themselves and respond to her?
Oh, hi, Karen. I certainly do not have a perfect, simple answer for that. I feel like there are a lot of things that my son is a senior in high school. I feel like there's some things in Prince George's County that I've certainly been working on for his entire, 12 or 13 years. And those little things that I see improve are kind of what keeps me going. Obviously being at the state level, there's a lot. I think as Prince George's County residents, especially, we need to be better at organizing like this, at making ourselves heard. I can say even the state board this week, we got a lot of public comment emails from parents across the state, and I saw none from Prince George's County. So we have to make sure that we do better at organizing as a county to make our needs known both within and beyond the county, because we don't want to keep doing the same thing. This cycle has continued for too long. One of the questions I asked last spring is, so we've broken a lot of things in our school system right now. How do we want to put these pieces back together? And those are the things that we want to hear parent voices. Well, at least I can't speak for everybody. I, on the state board, want to hear parent voices and teacher voices, because I do think we have opportunities to do things differently. We have opportunities to incorporate technology, to look at, how we can better expand digital learning in the future, because there are kids who like this format. There are things that we don't deal with in our facilities, or bullying when kids can just be at home. And finding a way to create blended learning or a variety of options still within our public school system. You shouldn't have to escape the public school system to find equitable opportunities for learning. So I am certainly passionate about it. I do not have all the answers by myself. I cannot fix any of this by myself. So making sure that we continue to share with others and continue to, complete surveys and share your email comments and make your voices heard at all levels. I will say, so one of the things that keeps coming up is questions about state testing. We have not decided what we're doing with state testing yet. That is supposed to be on our state board agenda at the end of February. So that is something when we have that on the agenda, when we have information about that, if you have opinions about whether or not we should have state testing this year, I want to hear them. We want there to be overwhelming numbers of emails saying, we don't want to return to buildings just to spend 2 weeks on state testing. And for me personally, that's we have so few days of learning this year that are likely to be in person. How can we get the information and the data that we need in a better way without spending the hours that we usually do on that same level of testing? So that will be the next call that I ask everybody to send their emails for. But again, if everybody that has opinions and has ideas on how to do this differently, share them and keep sharing them at all levels. So thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Could you please write the email where folks can send, you know, how they feel about testing and other things in the chat so that folks know and are aware. Thank you. And I also see that we are out of time, but I also see that John has his hand raised. So I'll go ahead and give John the mic and then we'll close out.
Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My heart is racing right now, so I'm going to try to be as succinct as I possibly can. At first, I wasn't going to raise my hand until I heard Ms. Morrow speak, and I agree with everything that she said. I'm in a unique position so this is my second year teaching in Prince George's County, and I'm the music teacher at Mount Rainier Elementary School. And I came in through a conditional license. I just got my license in December, and I went through all the classes through Trinity University. And I was so excited when I got my certification, when Tawana Lane in the Human Resources Office said something like, we as teachers get our certification from this website. You need to go here to get your certificate printed out. You can do what you want with it. I got so excited to feel like I'm a teacher. Being new in this system as a public school teacher, you know, I get to see things from a slightly different perspective. And I'm a little disappointed with how it seems like we're trying to get back to business as usual, back to education as usual. When we were given, I feel like the silver lining in this pandemic would have been a great opportunity to reevaluate our public education and how we go about supporting our families and supporting the students. It's ridiculous for one teacher to teach 32 students with 22 different teaching or learning styles, and they barely have the training to be experts in that field. I have a master's degree in music. I have performed all over the world in music. I'm not a master teacher. I am working very hard every day to become a master teacher. And I have a very difficult time accepting that this is the direction that we're going into, especially when we have mothers like Senora Mejia on here talking about, are we just talking? Are these just words? Are we really putting forth action? It seems like we're not really focusing on the things that are going to make long-term change. I like, you know, internet access for everybody. Yes, parents are focused on food. I have students who can't come to my classroom because they're in 6th grade and they're responsible for taking care of, you know, their 5-year-old, their 4-year-old brother and sister, their cousins. How in the world am I expected to give grades to these students? However, I'm being judged and evaluated on the grades that I give. So as a teacher, I'm put in an extremely difficult position. And as a new teacher, I can only imagine how many new teachers Prince George's County goes through every year have to deal with this on a normal basis, let alone in a situation of a pandemic. In my frustration, I have a lot to owe and a lot to be thankful for Prince George's County. I am PGCPS all the way. I am so proud and happy to be here. This is my 2nd year teaching here, but I've taught in other districts before, and the support that the administration have given me, the support that you know, the administration offices and everything that have given me to pursue this certification and to pursue professional development is unparalleled in my experience. And I am supremely grateful for the opportunities that have been provided to me as a new teacher. With that, you know, I'm disappointed that it does seem like we're just going back to education as usual and not taking advantage of the opportunities we have for time and reflection. So thank you.
Thank you. I was actually just writing in the chat. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for speaking, you know, truth to power, and for really highlighting that this is not a business as usual moment in our life right now. And our families are feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. And so how can we use this opportunity to really learn from what's happening and react in a way that is more human focused, right? That we're putting our humanity first, that we're caring for each other in a way that we need to when people are needing basic essentials right now. So thank you so much, John. Thank you everybody for being a part of this. I know you could have been in a million things, doing a million things tonight, but you made time and you made space and you came here and you heard stories tonight that I hope really shook you, and I hope really brought a deep awareness on what is going on in PG County, because we need our elected officials to bring that perspective when you're in those tables and our parents can't come and our community members can't be there, but that you're keeping in your heart and in your mind all of the stories that we shared tonight. I know this is just the beginning for the work that we're doing with AROS, and I look forward to more conversations with parents, with elected officials, community members, community school coordinators, principals, teachers, everybody, students as well. Everyone matters, everyone's voice matters. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight, and follow us on Facebook, right? We have a page, AROS PG, so you can stay informed with our upcoming events as well. Thank you, everyone. I'll be sure to follow up with everyone with all the links that were shared. There were so many gems in the chat. We'll be sure to highlight them in a thank you email message coming out to you tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Karen and say one other thing to the electeds who are still on the phone, that letter is in the chat. And if you would please go to that letter in the chat before the Zoom closes and sign your name. If you're already gone, we'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
everyone. And thank you, Karen, for doing an amazing, amazing job.
Thank
and
you.
all the parents.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Have a great evening.
Karen, can you share your information in the chat, please?
Yes, definitely. Shayla, do you want to share about your event as well? I'm so sorry, I forgot, but if you want to share, we still have folks.
It's okay. It's okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be having an event. It's open for everyone, but it's specifically targeted for our Latinx families. It's going to be this Saturday at 10 a.m. And I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat right now. But we really want to hear about virtual learning from our Latinx families. And so I'm going to share that right now in the chat, and you can join me. And give me 1 second.
Yes, and then
thank you again.
I will also be sharing that in the email tomorrow as well, in English and in
Okay.
Spanish. So folks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Of course. Thank you so much, Hilda. You're a rock star. Thank you so much for everything.
I can hear you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Oh, I
How did
can
you
hear
keep
you.
up
Did you
with
hear me?
everything, Hilda? Oh my God.
All right, thank you so much. Can I say something to you guys? Okay, so I know this is completely off topic, but if any family need anything, I have food and I have clothing. I have my own, I call it mobile delivering things for the students of Prince George's. So if anybody needs something, you can reach out to me.
Wow, Hilda.
Hilda, that's amazing. Can you send me that? Because I would love to share that with the
and you
family.
know, I usually don't mention because I just do it, but since it looks like a lot of teachers here, they kind of do need the students. They do know the students that are in immediate need. So you can reach out to me. You know my information, so you can share it with people. And I have food. I have a lot of clothes that I actually take donations from teachers, PTSA. I also belong to my PTSA in my school. So please reach out to me. I'll
Oh
make it
my
happen.
gosh, bless your soul. Wow, that's so amazing. It's perfect timing too, because right now I'm working on the newsletter for AROS, and I'm
Okay.
going to share like resources. So I will definitely include that in there. Thank you.
And if it's something that I don't have, I will find it.
Wow.
Hilda, can you drop your contact information in the
Yeah,
chat,
of course,
please?
Thank you, Hilda. Oh
No,
my
I'm sorry.
God.
I just couldn't I'm sorry. I have to.
Yes, of course, Miss Tanner. I'll definitely include you in the AROS mailing list.
So that's my, I put my cell phone number there. You're welcome to call me. If I don't answer, it's because I'm in class during the daytime.
I know I was trying to text you. I don't know if it went through, but there was a mom who, for some reason, she couldn't see the globe at the bottom of her screen. And I was trying to ask if you could call her, but I know you were interpreting.
I was rolling. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I didn't even look at my phone.
I'm surprised that you can still see straight. You must have been so dizzy. Karen, it was amazing. It was just, what an amazing job. Just amazing.
I thought it was so great to
Just
see like
so-
parents coming together with elected officials. And
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Josh, for helping us with all the tech. Really, really, really appreciate it.
No problem. Make sure you download the chat if you want to keep any of that questions.
Oh, how do I do that?
I just copied and pasted it
You
into
can
a
just
Word
click
doc.
on the chat in the bottom. You'll see there's 3 little buttons, and you can click Save Chat when you click those 3.
Oh,
buttons.
really?
Oh, okay.
It'll download the entire chat.
Wow,
Oh,
that's
look at
amazing.
that.
Thank you.
Who knew?
Oh, wow.
We're like, who knew?
I
We're
always
still
just
discovering
I
Zoom.
like race through and copy and cut